Welcome. It's going to be a great day. Okay, today we're going to look at drawing an eye, painting an eye, and you have to remember that there is an eyeball inside, so it is a sphere. So draw a sphere first, and then draw where you want the iris to be, then where you want the eye. Now I'm only drawing one eye here, so obviously this will be duplicated on the other side. So make sure you draw around the sphere to remind yourself that it is wrapping around. So for the eyelids, the bottom and the top, you want them to appear to be wrapping around a sphere, which is the eyeball in this case. Okay, so I've got my pencil line in and doing the eyelashes. Don't want a bare eye. And then once this is done, then I'm going to start laying down some basic color. Okay, here's a bonus before I do that. Now, the pupil is located here. It's not located here on the eyeball when you're looking at it from the profile view, side view. No, don't do that. And see, the eyelid is also, still want that roundness. So basically what's happening is that the iris is like that and the pupil is behind it. I mean, I'm just drawing that for an example, but actually it's the cornea, iris, pupil. All right, now I'm laying down the color of the eyeball, which is the sclera, and I've separated everything out on layers so that eyeball, the sclera, the white part of the eye is on one layer. The iris, the color part of the eye, is on its own separate layer. And the pupil, the black, what seems to be the black part of the eye, is on its own layer, as well as the skin, which I have above all of that, so that I don't have to worry about trying to put the eye in the skin, as the color is already masked in a way, or will be masked once I finish this base color. So what I'm going to do is now erase, so I get an opening. And now I got a nice smooth opening. Oops, made a little mistake there. So now let me just clean this up. So the edges are nice and smooth. I don't want a hard edge, so I'm using a soft eraser. Soft eraser. Erasure, something completely different. I think I'm just trying to tidy up my iris here. I'm just locking the transparency on each of those so I don't accidentally choose the wrong layer and start painting. I mean, I could just use Command Z. Okay, there was a jump there because I started shading in the eye and I forgot to record that part. Also, I forgot to record that I made a duplicate layer of the skin, which I will tell you why I did that later. So stay tuned. See it till the bitter end. Okay, now I'm laying down some rough, broad strokes for what will be my shadows. This is the medium layer of the shadows. And you know, I could be real loose with this because I'm going to add more detail and refine it later. So you really don't have to get very picky at this point. And now my darker shadow. Show the fold of the eye and the underside of the eyelid, because the eyelid does have dimension to it. So the underside is always going to be a shadow, and the top is always going to have a highlight. because it's catching the light. Okay, now I'm going to start smoothing this out using the palette knife, the wet one, my favorite so far, and start to get this going toward a final. And now I'm darkening in the iris, and believe it or not, that has a name, that dark rim around the iris. It's called a limbal ring or limbus, so whichever you prefer. So also I did some little scribbles, some lines to indicate that part of the eye that we see that actually closes in on the pupil to make it dilate. This is why it calls iris, because it's opening and closing to accept light or to block it out. So I'm going more detail here, getting darker, getting more definite with stuff that I'm going to keep now, and forming soft edges and hard edges. Putting in some highlights for the skin, a little bit in that corner of the eye there, of the eyelid, little fold above the eye, not a major one, well, on the eyelid, but the eye, the skin's catching light, everywhere. So, and also just kind of draws attention to the pupil there also. I'm not sure how much, maybe I'll keep that, maybe I won't. Let's see what happens. Maybe I gotta clean this iris up a little bit more. It's a little bit raggedy. And cleaning up the eyelid and that fold that kind of starts to begin an eyelid where the eyelid, I don't know where the eyelid starts or ends. So anyway, the top part of the eye. And put some shadow underneath the bottom part of the eyelid so that it has some dimension. There was another jump there because again I started doing stuff without recording it. And in that case what I did was I started warming up the shadows. So if you've seen some of my previous videos, I used the orange color as I did in those, and those were in the speed paintings that I did. Kardashian and Rihanna. So you can check those out. Okay, now I'm on another layer, a shadow layer, and I'm putting in, and I've multiplied it, and I'm putting in some shadows on the eye because the eyelid casts a shadow on the eyeball. Now, it's not that big a shadow because it's not that far away, but I'm overemphasizing this because I'm going to knock that down with the palette knife and the eraser to get the kind of gradation and blending that I want, and so that it kind of fades because it's not a harsh shadow, it's a very soft shadow. And you can see it really gives the roundness to the eyeball. And you want the shadow to go across the eyeball and the iris. So there's no, and that's why I'm doing the shadow on another layer, so that it can be one continuous shadow across the whole thing, so it's to stop and do anything else. And try to match it. Okay, so now I'm trying to get that corner of the eye defined because I want that to look kind of wet because it is kind of moist over there. And making some more definite shadows in the fold, trying to get that right. I'm not really happy with it right now because it's too messy on both sides. So I have to get one side, trying to get the bottom side smooth. Adding some highlight to the iris because there's a range of colors that are really in the eyes. And if you look really closely, there's a lot going on. I don't know what you call it, striations. Anyway, in this case, from an art standpoint, it's just lines. Okay, I'm bringing back to pencil drawing so I could do the eyelashes. And as you may notice, I'm using just deep purple. Same color I use for the pupil. Black is a dull, flat color I try to avoid. And eyelashes, you don't want them to be all uniform because they crisscross in different lengths. So you want to have some kind of randomness to it, different sizes. And also you want to make sure they're coming from the lid and not just from anywhere. Doing right now to make that happen and making sure that it has a point of origin. And since this is actually doesn't necessarily have to be a male or female eye, it's just somebody who has regular eyelashes, nothing added to it. So I'm putting some highlights using light blue for the highlights right now, and I'm making that where the light hits on the top part of the bottom eyelid. Oh, and also I should mention that that shadow layer I created, it was set to multiply since I didn't show you while I was doing it. So I want you to know that it's important. Okay, so now I'm going back on top of the eyelashes because I want some of the eyelashes to be on top of that highlight that I created, not the highlight on top of the light, but also I want some of the light to hit some of those eyelashes. So again, you want it to be uneven and not uniform. Now I'm going to add a reflection onto the eye. Now usually this is just a round dot. That's what most artists do. But reflections is really the light source that's appearing in the eye. So in this case, I'm going to make it a series of windows and put that in. And now I'm going to soften the bottom so it kind of fades. And this I put the white on 80%, or I think I brought it down to 60%. And now I'm actually adding white to the corner of the eye, because again, I want it to be smaller. And now I'm just adding an arbitrary shape because also somebody who's maybe standing in front of the person with a white shirt or something, and also gives the eye a little bit more dimension and attractiveness and unexpected. So if you're doing fantasy paint or something, you don't necessarily have to put just a round eye because it's not always the sun. Now here's a little bonus. You can change the color of the skin by changing the blending modes. Now I'm using that duplicate layer of the skin to add texture back into the painting. And so far I've used tint, shadow, multiply, linear burn, overlay, soft light, and color. Now I drew this eye at full size. You may not be drawing it at full size, and so the size that you see it at this small size is the way it probably be presented. Well, that's all for today. Please like, share, and comment. I'd definitely like to hear from you, and so you don't miss an episode, please subscribe. Remember, just create.